Tughlaqabad Fort today, and it's one of the most important sites we have in Delhi to know about Delhi's history. Whenever we talk about Delhi, its history, its monuments, we know it for the fact that it has been a capital city for almost 1,000 years. And Tughlaqabad, our site today, is one of these capital cities. It's built in the 14th century, and today, as we see Delhi in the 21st century, it's one of the most massive ruins, massive medieval ruins we have here in the city of Delhi. As you can see, we are just outside the entrance to the fort, and these are the ramparts of the fort as seen from the outside, from the main road, the Meherali Badarpur road. As we go in, we'll look at the specific monuments and we'll talk a little more about them. We are at the entrance to the fort. This is a ticketed monument now, and the point from where we are entering, this is now a public entrance, but to begin with, when the fort was built for the residence of the Sultan, this was for his private use only. So this actually happens to be the passage or the entrance for the Sultan himself. Just entered the fort, and the first thing you'll see as you enter the fort is this huge space which seems like a hollow carved out of the ground. It actually is one. To begin with, this is the quarry from where the stones for this massive fortress were taken, and that is why this depression. Once the stones were quarried out, the space was turned into a reservoir. So bang in the middle of the fort, just as you enter, on one side you have the citadel area, which is towards my right now. In the center, where I stand, is the reservoir, the central reservoir for this fortress. And towards the left are the palace buildings, and we'll take a look at the fortifications there in that part of the fort. Standing on the walls of the Tughlaqabad fort, as you can see, we are between two big fat bastions. Now bastions are these round things. We have fort walls, which are actually straight walls standing perpendicular to the ground often, but between these walls, these are often interspersed with what are known as bastions. Bastions are these huge big round things, and they actually have a purpose. They're not here for decoration only. What these do is, suppose if I were defending the fort from where I'm standing and the enemy is on the other side. Now if I were to shoot at him, and I'll only get one angle to shoot at. What the bastions do is that there'll be my comrades, my colleagues, soldiers with me who will be standing there. So in case I'm under fire, they can protect me, and also we can have a common target. Now if you notice, some very features which are typical to what the Tughlaqs did with their architecture. The first thing which is most easily identifiable with the Tughlaqs is the fact that all their walls, they have this slight batter. These walls are not perpendicular to the ground. These are at an angle. And in fact, it's a distinguishing feature for Tughlaq buildings anywhere. Their palace buildings, their fortifications, their tombs, all of them are distinguished by the fact that they have sloping walls. Another thing to notice here is the levels of fortification, the levels of defense here. Now I'm standing at what would have been the first level of defense. This is the wall slopes up from the ground, and this is the first level where the soldiers would have stood to defend from the enemy. The second one would be just behind this, and you can see the levels there. There are three, 1, 2, and the third one would be the topmost portion, which is in a ruined condition now. So in fact, this pattern follows almost throughout the fortification, along the fortification walls in this fort. Now this is the bare masonry which was there originally, and this has been covered up with dressed stone. So like you can see that these are randomly shaped stones which have been just put together and are held together by mortar. There's not a regular pattern to it. But stones like these, they are in a better condition. They are more evenly shaped blocks, and they have been put together to form a pattern which would look much more less random than this. So basically the masonry of the fort, the core masonry, has been covered up with dressed stones like these, but which is still fairly thick. The dressing itself is, as you can see how thick it is. So these are huge, massively thick walls, and one just needs to imagine, sometimes the thickness of the walls go up to 10 feet or so, which is a lot. Now, just behind me, towards where I point, this area, as you can see, is in a completely ruined condition. What you can see now are these foundations of rooms which are actually built around courtyards, and these go on in this direction for about 300 meters or so. Now, this area has been identified as the palace complex for official purposes, and these are a series of buildings which are built around courtyards. Now, Tughlakabad has a number of reservoirs. The first main one was the quarry from which the stones were taken out for the construction of this very fort. Is another one inside the fort area. This one again, as you can see, is fairly massive, but built in a much more planned way. It's not just a hole dug out of ground. It has a proper shape. It has steps leading to the bottom, and also again you'll notice that the masonry has been again dressed up. So they are evenly shaped or sometimes even polished stones over the masonry, which give it a finishing. The Tughlakabad fort, the way it is today, it's mostly in ruins. So anybody who visits this place has to use a lot of imagination of how things might have been. It wasn't just walls or foundations which were there. There were actually buildings with living spaces, palaces here. Just to give you an idea of how we reconstruct stuff, if you look at this portion of the wall, you can see that there are these niches here, and the wall goes on all along with the outer fortification. Now, parts of it have been completely ruined. They've just fallen down. But this portion, along with the wall just behind it, formed an arcade sort of a thing, which was roofed over. So this was actually something like a passage where soldiers could walk along. This area is actually the entrance to the citadel of this fort. Now, a citadel is the most well defended part of any fortification. So this is the area where which probably had the apartments, the royal apartments for residents, and also the treasury, perhaps, being the citadel. Now, Tughlakabad is more like a fossilized, complex. When it was built in the 14th century, the first king stayed here. After his death, his son Muhammad Tughlaq was here for a very short time, and after it was abandoned. Now, because it was abandoned and for a very long time nobody lived here, the structures have managed to survive the way they were originally planned. So a lot of it is actually, it gives us a very good idea of how things might have been in the 14th century. We do know of a later settlement here within this fortification. It's this portion which has been identified as a late Mughal settlement. You can see a gateway here, and that probably is the only addition to this fortification. All along this passage, this is an underground passage. Above this are palace buildings, and below here, all through this, there's an opening on the other side. There are rooms, in fact, not even rooms, there are cells on either sides. These are really small single cell structures without light, without any sort of an illumination except a ventilator here and there along the passage. So it's open to speculation what these things might have been. Some say this is where the prisoners were kept, others say this is where the royal treasury was. Where we stand now, it's an excellent view of the surrounding area. It's also probably a pavilion, which was the highest, would have been the highest point in this fort. It has been identified as a pavilion which was for royal use exclusively, and was probably called Jahanuma, or something which is world showing. Probably comes from the fact that it has an excellent view of the surrounding area. Now this entire extent, as far as the eye goes, at least till where the greenery is, that's the entire extent of the fort. And as you can see, a large part of it, this portion where the modern habitation is, has been taken over. This is now the Tughlakabad village, the settlement, and it's actually built inside the fort. So there would have been some ruins here, but they are now completely lost to us. We can't access them anymore. There's nothing to tell us about those ruins anymore. That's the tomb of the founder of this dynasty and the fellow who built this fort, Ghiyasuddin Tughlaq. Now, the fort here and the tomb there, they were actually connected. This whole area, what is today the Mehrauli Badarpur Road, and this ground you see here, it was actually under a sheet of water. There was an artificial lake which was created here, and the tomb and the fort were connected by a passage, a causeway. When we'll walk towards the tomb, we will be walking on that very causeway. Now the causeway has been breached to create the Mehrauli Badarpur Road. And the little fort over there, that's an extension built by Ghiyasuddin Tughlaq's sons, Muhammad Tughlaq. Now Muhammad Tughlaq wasn't very comfortable living in Tughlakabad all the while. So it's said that he built a small fortress for himself. It's almost the same architecture, but it's on a much smaller scale. So that place, which is called Adilabad, was like an extension to this Tughlakabad main fort, and that's where Muhammad Tughlaq preferred to live. There's a bastion which is fairly well known here. The one over there, which has sloping access to it, has been identified as the Khuni Burj. One doesn't really know the reason for it, but it's probably a name given by the locals. And you can see it's just outside, it's the part which forms the fortification to the citadel area, not the rest of the fort. So that actually marks the boundary to the citadel area of this fortification. Now we are at Ghiyasuddin Tughlaq's tomb, which lies just opposite the fort. As I mentioned, there was a causeway, a passage, which connected the fort and the tomb here. We have walked across that causeway, and we are now standing at the entrance to the tomb. Now the tomb itself is, like a mini fortress. It has a fortification wall which is very, very similar to that of the fort. And the tomb actually lies within it. enter the fortification wall, you have these nice lawns now, within which stands the tomb. It's a royal tomb, and the beauty of this structure particularly comes from the fact that there are the use of contrasting colors of stone. There's this bright red sandstone and the white marble, which provides an excellent soothing contrast to it. I think that's what lends it beauty and grace. We are inside Ghiyasuddin Tughlaq's tomb. Now the central grave here would of course be of the person for whom the tomb is built, which means that this is where Ghiyasuddin lies buried. The other two graves, one of which, this one is a male grave, the other one is a female grave, have been identified as that of Muhammad Tughlaq and Ghiyasuddin Tughlaq's wife. But as you can see, there are no inscriptions on the graves which might tell us so. It's mostly tradition and contemporary sources which tell us that this is where the Sultan is buried. Also, you'll see the four sides of the tomb, one of which is closed up. This is because this is the western wall and it has been closed up to indicate the direction of prayer. So this is where the west is, this is where the Mecca is for us, people in Indian subcontinent. And it's not an uncommon feature to find tombs having the western walls closed off.